All right.
Thanks for coming out. Saturday morning, it's always tough, last day of the conference, but I appreciate it. I'm Ailey Ashry. I'm the co-founder and chairman of Gold Lasso, Special Situations ESP. Also, the new managing principal of RegReady, a community to help marketers build primary permission opt-in lists. Go down and introduce the rest of the panel. Everyone can introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of quickly take it away.
So good morning. I'm Bruce Cook, SVP of Business Development at LendingTree.
Amanda Curry, SVP at Adconian Direct.
Scott Kaufman, I'm the VP of Marketing at the LASIK Vision Institute.
I'm Josh Levy. I'm the Director of Email Strategy at Datalot.
Great. Well, I'm always interested about learning about performance-based email. And everybody talks about the volume that some of these big brands have, but performance-based email is by far 100 times bigger than any volume that a larger brands are putting out. And so I kind of want to start off the first question with you, Bruce. I mean, the economy, it's getting better, but marketers, as Jordan mentioned before, that they have to do more with less. And I'm kind of curious, what are the main things that are making the performance-based email evolve? What's pushing it aside from the economy itself?
So first, a performance marketing channel needs to be treated like any other marketing channel. It needs to be staffed appropriately. It needs to have checks and balances and processes put in place. The great thing about it is it allows you to extend your advertising reach and diversify your revenue through an additional marketing channel. Performance marketing gives you great volume levers. You can add more volume into the mix or less volume. As it relates to email, you gain access to millions of millions of consumers that are third-party, permission-based.
You mentioned before that LendingTree wasn't doing performance-based email, and then all of a sudden you started doing it and you saw a big increase. So do you feel that this could be a panacea for justifying a lot of cost based involved in the email programs, or just in performance marketing in general? Because you noticed a huge increase.
Sure.
In revenue.
So the great thing about this channel is most of the work is done on your partners, on partner side. It's like gaining an extra 10 or 20 people on your staff. It's extremely trackable in that you don't pay for an action until an action happens, and most of the work is done, as I said, with your partners that own these lists or manage these lists.
And Scott, this kind of brings into you. I mean, you're also on the brand side of things. You work for a smaller brand, more, I guess, a regional brand, LASIK Vision, and you are very heavily involved in performance-based email. My company did a survey, and we found out that 58% of marketers are still okay with purchasing lists. I know it's not the 58% in this room, more or less, and I know that your company doesn't purchase lists, but you have to deal with giving up a certain amount of control in order to work with other partners. And there's probably the fear of maybe sometimes running into somebody that wants to purchase a list. So what are the kind of the pros and cons of balancing out, working with these partners, and as a regional brand, what are some of the risks that you encounter, and how do you mitigate that?
Well, as Bruce was saying, the pros are, the ability to extend your reach. I mean, we're a much smaller brand than a lot of the companies here, and doing marketing on a performance basis has allowed us to say that we know, for the most part, what we're getting when we spend money, right? We can't afford to spend X thousand dollars and not have the phones ring or have leads come through. We know we can pay on a pay-per-lead basis, a cost-per-sale basis, so that we know that our dollar is being stretched as far as it can go. And it also helps us, being a small marketing department of only 2 people right now, to leverage the experts in the emailing industry to be able to use their knowledge and their data to be able to effectively drive leads for us. The risks, we have to we have to carefully pick the partners that we work with, and we work with, we do our research, we depend on referrals, we carefully speak to them before we're going to work with them to make sure that we're on the same page about how we're both going to act and what our expectations are. We make sure we have strong agreements in place, then compliance, then feedback through the whole process to make sure that expectations on both sides are being met.
And I actually just wanted to add to that quickly. I've spent the last 10 years in customer acquisition email. I was a co-founder of a company called Frontline. We were acquired by Adconian Media Group in 2008. And it's great because now we're part of a global digital media firm. We have 20 offices in 17 countries and 600 employees. And just looking at it, because I see, and I was in the privacy group yesterday, and it was funny because AccuData was discussing how one of their clients, purchases data and uploads B2B lists. And I think it's important to see that customer acquisition email has really progressed, and I've had the opportunity, I'm a big believer in it and been able to do it for the last decade, but it's really evolved to, it's basically what we refer to it as customer acquisition email solutions, and large brands are utilizing this. AT&T, Groupon, eHarmony, Match.com, brands that are able to suppress all active users and then pay on, as well as their suppression file, pay on a CPA basis. So you're adding a lot of value, and I think when we look at it, you think of list purchasing as, you're getting this cold data, you don't know where it came from. When we're looking at it, we very closely evaluate all of our data partners, and there's millions of transactions occurring on the web every day. People are applying for insurance, they're buying products, they're consenting to third-party marketing. Companies like Adconian and Datalot are remarketing to these users, compelling campaigns like that.
I know you're working with a lot of big brands, and to expand on Scott's, what other selection criteria, let's say for instance an American Airlines or, another brand, or even smaller brands for that matter, what are the selection criteria? I know that you got to make sure they're on the same page, you do the vetting over there. But there's a lot of third parties that facilitate these types of transactions. If somebody were to start and say, okay, acquisition emails for me, I'm going to work with a third-party publisher or a list, a list manager. How do you make that work? How do you make sure that you're not going to get yourself into hot water?
Is that for?
That's for you, Amanda, because you're working with the larger brands.
Certainly. So what I would recommend is basically the same way you're going to look at working with any vendor, providing any service. So you want to look at longevity in market. Are they providing strategy? Are they providing insights? Are they able to, fundamentally tell you what their process, what their services they're using? There's a lot of great third-party tools you're able to use for email, especially third-party, Optismo, Unsub Central, Email Analyst, understanding the policies and what they're using. So it's basically the same sort of process you'd use to evaluate any vendor. And what's great about working with acquisition email partners is because we have the advantage of we work with thousands of advertisers and thousands of brands, we can really share with you what we see as best practice. What Mutual of Omaha yesterday was talking about, because we work a lot with a lot of life insurance carriers, we see the exact same thing where the family will always perform just a picture of a house. And working with partners that are able to provide those insights and say, based on what we know, subject lines that look like this work very well, this kind of imagery, this kind of call to action. So really looking for that strategy and insight, I think, is critical.
Right, and we don't have the resources to be able to evaluate like Amanda and her company can. So that's the pro of us working with companies like that they're the experts and they know what's going on in the marketplace and they can give us recommendations.
So that's a lot of added value then in terms of working with these parties. And as to bounce off what you said, Bruce, and it's really having another 20 or 30 people on staff to really evaluate what your acquisition efforts look like, because they're looking at the subject lines, and because it's so performance driven, they have the incentive then to do it, because if they're not working for you, they're not getting paid, correct?
Right. A lot of these, a lot of the partners, if you handpick them right, these teams are extremely creative and innovative and bring a real additive to your marketing team.
And Josh, I know that your company offers a lot of multi-channel acquisition strategies. Not just email, but mobile and other things as well. So I'm kind of curious, where do you see the greatest opportunity in terms of acquisition to integrate email with other channels?
Gotcha. So at Datalot, we're a customer acquisition platform. We're mainly active in insurance and home services. For us, it's all about the data. It's in the name of our company. And we will leverage just all of the third-party data, so Rapleaf is a great partner. We collect a lot of on-form information. We're referencing every publicly available database to verify and assign user intent to buying life insurance or auto insurance or whatever. And then we're also, the real unique part about Datalot, which is a little different, we're picking up the phone and calling everybody who comes to our websites. And so a lot of my job is to not only connect the email with the phone, so if somebody hangs up, we're triggering an email to them saying, hey, call us back, but also using the phone interaction to market, further to these users. So if somebody was on the phone speaking about life insurance for 5 minutes, that's a very strong data point. And, I'm able to, just like what's happened in the display world, how everybody's gotten much smarter and they're able to just bid much more intelligently on inventory, spend less but generate the same revenue. We look to do the same thing in email. So we're really, if I'm able to send a message to 500 people and generate 250 clicks and a few conversions, that's better to us than just mass marketing to sending a 50,000 message.
That is the first time in a long time that I've heard of not integrating email with social media. With an old school channel, regular POTS line telephone,
Yep.
and integrating. And what type of, first off, how physically is that done? It could be a simple process, and then, what are some of how do you evaluate the criteria to see if that works, that type of integration?
Carefully. It's actually pretty complicated. We have a large team of developers who are working on our phone system, so it's been a challenge so far. But being on the phone with somebody speaking about an auto insurance policy, I'd argue is a much stronger data point than writing a tweet about something or a Facebook post. So it's in our performance. Like, I see ridiculous open rates, ridiculous click rates, and it really shows.
Great. And I assume you have some type of content engine to help push relevancy inside the email after, I guess, the call center hangs up. And
Yep, definitely. So we test everything, and we have a lot of first-party information about all of our users. And it's sort of silly, but what works best by far is just text-heavy, and then if you're looking for a life insurance policy, we know the insurance amount you're looking for, how old you are, your address, and just making a form saying, hi, I know you're looking for a $500,000 term life policy for 25 years, and that personalization, it's like 10 times better than anything else.
I think we'll kind of move on and talk a little bit about the difference between CRM and acquisition email. And I kind of, the term CRM is tossed around a lot, and sometimes it's referred to nurturing. I know the big agencies that I've worked with, anything direct to CRM, that's their catch-all phrase. So I know a lot of discussion that was made here was about CRM type nurturing, relationship building email. But you guys are about the quick sale, all right? That's what it's about. It's not about relationship building, I don't think. It's about getting that quick sale. So why don't you explain a little bit about the difference, Bruce and Scott, and then we'll go on to Amanda and Josh, what you feel the difference is, and really how to tweak it and make sure that you get that sale, or you get the person to call the call center for the LASIK vision, or you close the credit card deal.
Sure. So our performance channel works around a brand and tying into the other advertising that we're doing, whether it's television or display, and it's very direct response. There's call to action, and consumers we're moving consumers through forms and getting them to complete an action. So very direct response.
And is there a timing element associated with it? I mean, obviously relevancy, I mean, someone doesn't wake up tomorrow and say, I need a credit card deal, or I need, I need a loan. I mean, so how do you figure out that timing component, I guess, to make sure that to maximize?
Sure.
what you
So
offer?
in performance, in the performance marketing channel, especially around email, we're working with these third-party list providers, and really the timing is out of our control. We have the offer, the payouts, and our partners are working with their lists and their list owners, and the timing's a little out of our control.
And I guess, Scott, in your case, people do wake up in the morning and can't see.